Another big story we're following today, U.S. President Barack Obama's historic visit to Cuba. Obama gave an unprecedented speech, really, to the Cuban people on Tuesday. He tried to end Cold War rivalries in a nationally televised address from Havana with Cuban President Raul Castro and a big crowd looking on. CCTV's Michael Voss has more.
U.S. President Barack Obama left his most important speech for his final day in Havana, a televised address shown live in Cuba, outlining his vision of the future. With Cuba's President Raul Castro and his cabinet looking on, Obama stressed that the United States would not impose change on Cuba. That was up to the Cubans to do. But he then spoke about what he considers universal human rights.
I believe citizens should be free to speak their mind without fear, to organize and to criticize their government and to protest peacefully, and that the rule of law should not include arbitrary detentions of people who exercise those rights.
Obama called on the U.S. Congress to lift the trade embargo, but said that to benefit, Cuba needed economic changes as well.
Even if we lifted the embargo tomorrow, Cubans would not realize their potential without continued change here in Cuba. It should be easier to open a business here in Cuba. A worker should be able to get a job directly with companies who invest here in Cuba. The internet should be available across the island so that Cubans can connect to the wider world and to one of the greatest engines of growth in human history.
So what did those in the audience make of his speech?
I think he talked about freedom and human rights, not only for the Cuban people. He talked very generally on those terms, and he recognized that there are things to be done here, there, and almost everywhere.
The Cuban people are free. I invite anyone who wants to come here and prove it on the streets. People talk about whatever they want to, whatever opinion, and nothing happens.
There was another televised appearance on Tuesday that drew an even bigger audience as the U.S. president attended, along with Castro, an exhibition game between the Cuban national team and the Tampa Bay Rays. They're the first U.S. Major League team to play in this baseball-crazy island in decades. Just what impact President Obama's historic visit to Cuba may have on bringing about economic or political change may become clearer at next month's Communist Party Congress, the first to be held here in 5 years. Michael Voss, CCTV, Havana.